I'm Vikraman. I head IKP Eden. We are a not-for-profit. Most startup incubators in India are not-for-profit. IKP is actually a set of three not-for-profits. IKP Eden is one of them. I head IKP Eden. Um, and we are based in Bangalore. We also support centers across India in Hyderabad and Karnataka. We had actually also come down to Gujarat last year with some plans of hoping to set up similar facilities in Gujarat. So that is still in the works. So we will talk about all of those. IKP is actually a 20-year-old company. We have supported more than 550 startups. The headquarters was in Hyderabad, initially promoted by ICICI Bank, promoted by IKP Trust, which is now a spin-out from ICICI Bank, and with help from Telangana government. This is how the first IKP was set up. This is a large 200-acre campus. IKP Eden is a very small 25,000 square foot building, but it's in the middle of Bangalore. In Hyderabad, our campus is quite large, a 200-acre campus, where big companies, small companies, all of them work together. So you would have seen most incubation centers are located in colleges, academic institutes. IKP is a private research park, a research facility, and we have a startup incubation center inside that. So we are not associated with a college or an institution. We're just associated with a lot of large companies like DuPont, US Pharmacopoeia, Coromandel Fertilizers, Advanta Seeds. All of these large companies have their campus inside our bigger park, which is the Hyderabad campus. Eden was started in 2015. This was started to help medical device and hardware companies. These companies had a problem with prototyping, with product development. They didn't know where to go, how to build. So the process of medical device development itself was 7 years, 9 years. The first success you might have read, Biosense, which is an Indian startup. This has taken almost 10 years to get an exit with Tulip Diagnostics. We have other companies like Remedio, etc., which came out of IKP, again, which have taken 10 years to become a 150 crore company. So medical device innovation has been very slow because of various problems. So one of the steps was having a good prototyping center, and that's how we went about setting up IKP Eden. I will talk more about that. And then funding is a huge problem. So we will also talk about funding. We will talk about what are the steps that you should take care of while you're building a hardware product. And then when there is a problem like COVID-19, how do you change your strategy to help out, especially when you're a hardware product startup? Because if you're a software startup, you can still continue building it from home, hoping that everything goes away. And then you will be back to normal. But if you're a hardware product company, there are different kinds of problems. By now, I'm sure 39 lectures have gone. Everyone has beaten down the supply chain word. Supply chain is broken. Supply chain is being fixed. I'm sure you've heard that a lot. We will talk about some of the people who managed to pivot and managed to build new products using this COVID-19 scenario to be sustainable. So we'll talk about that from a hardware point of view, right? Just to give you an impact of what IKP has been doing over the last 20 years, we have supported more than 550 companies. In this, 50 are large companies. I talked about Coromandel. Most of you should know Coromandel Fertilizers. Like that, we have supported 50 large companies and 500 startups. We have personally funded, not personally, but we have raised money and invested in more than 250 startups. We've conducted n number of workshops, so I'm counting more than 8,000 people who have attended all our workshops, training programs, etc. The great thing about Science Park and Incubator is that once you set up a small campus, it attracts so much investment. So if you include all of the investment from DuPont, from USP, and all of these large companies, that translates to about 2,000 crores of investment and creation of more than 10,000 research jobs that we have helped enable in the last 20 years. Right? I joined about 8.5 years back, so I'm not the creator of IKP. There was the chairman of ICICI, Mr. Narayan Wagul. So before KV Kamath, before this was almost 1998 when IKP was conceptualized and started, and officially began in 2000. So please, I'm not the sole person behind it. There are a lot of IKP Eden is my project which I started and in 2015. And then it has been running successfully in Bangalore, and satellite centers have been set up with support from the Karnataka government. That's the K-Tech Innovation Hubs. So that's our story so far. What do you need when you are starting product development? You need a lab, whether it's mechanical engineering, biotech, chemistry. You need funding, you need a peer group, you need a community, you need a lot of training programs, you need support systems, you need access to mentors, advisors, all of that. So we enable all of that. That's a typical incubation program, incubator accelerator, right? Geographically, we are spread out in 6 cities as of now. But when we take care of funding programs, I told you we have funded more than 250 innovators. They are distributed across this country. So we have funded people in Manipur, Imphal. We have funded. I've personally gone and done due diligence in Ahmedabad, Baroda. We have had a company work out of Surat. Pune is another big center for us. But you will see that Hyderabad and Bangalore, that is where our headquarters is, Hyderabad, and Bangalore is where IKP Eden is. So that is where the main cluster of companies that we have supported come under. Delhi is a third after Pune, right? So what is IKP Eden? IKP Eden, Eden stands for Engineering Design Entrepreneurship Network, right? It's an acronym. It represents any form of engineering, industrial design that is focused on entrepreneurship, right? This is a center where you should be able to build, make anything. Like I said, medical device companies were having problems in building products. So we put together everything, metalworking, wood, foam prototyping. We have an electronics assembly line. We have a biotech chemistry lab. We have office space for startups. We provide funding support. We help them connect with mentors, advisors, distributors, and I'll talk about a few of those success stories that happens, right? So the idea was under one building, you should be able to get everything done. There is no searching for where to find something. You have a help desk, you have a WhatsApp group, you have a whole encyclopedia of resources that you can reference while you're here. And that was the idea. So it's more than just a facility, it's an ecosystem, right? So I talked about this. A typical startup needs to identify the right problem. Identifying the right problem is very important. A lot of teams spend a year, maybe 2 or 3 years building something that is eventually not adopted. You have to be very careful to build something that people want. We always propose a lean launchpad approach where you do a lot of customer interviews, take feedback. It's not good enough if your idea is great. It is important that people adopt it, people are willing to pay. Even if it's not a consumer who is paying, it should be an industry that is paying, or at least the government should be willing to pay, especially social impact solutions like tuberculosis, etc. Solutions around these are paid for by the government, but the end beneficiary is the larger population of India. So we have to be very clear in our problem definition, and before we begin innovation and investing our time and resources, and even if it's investor funds or if it is grant funds, what you are spending is your time. And our goal here is to make sure you spend the least time and get maximum out of it. Money is replaceable and time is not. And that's the fundamental policy under which we operate. First Indian company to go public in the biotech space. Sorry, not the first Indian company, but first antiretroviral drug company, Laurus Labs. So antiretroviral drugs are very important because COVID-19 will be solved by ARV drugs. So you have to know that ARV is a very important branch of APIs, and that's why it is very important that Laurus Labs will probably be one of the generic manufacturers for Remdesivir or one of these drugs. You must have heard of Gilead's Remdesivir, which is a promising drug approved in Japan now, being approved in the US now. We're hoping that this will solve the problem, right? Remedio I talked about, it's a retinal imaging team. So for diabetic retinopathy, for other complications in your eye. 99 Dots, a very successful social impact company, has scaled up all over India, now deployed in more than 900 districts of India. This is a huge success. You should understand that getting a solution that is adopted by the Indian government, that is made available to all TB patients across all districts of India, right? That is what social impact really is. So making a solution to help people take their medication on time, this is what 99 Dots has done, and they've been phenomenally successful. And we've been happy to support them with funding from USAID, funding from the UK government. I'll talk more about those programs that we have run. And then we have other companies like Soham, Windmill Health. These came out of the Stanford India Biodesign Program. We have funded them through the BIG program. We have funded them through the Grand Challenges programs, which we run with the Gates Foundation. And this has also been something that has immediately impacted children. These are both neonatal products, Soham and Windmill Health. IKP is also very happy to have supported and funded. We are an investor in Inito. Inito is India's first medical device company in Y Combinator, right? There are only two medtech companies which made it to Y Combinator, and one of them is Inito. The other one is Morphil, which has also been incubated in one of our KTech centers. But Inito is the news is fairly out in public. They've been selling, they've already sold about 25,000 units of theirs. Though initially it was created for fertility monitoring, during the COVID-19 time, they have managed to create a home test. Of course, there is a lot of debate about whether COVID-19 home test should be allowed, but we will see. Maybe in 3-4 months, we will know whether a home test is needed or not. Why does the world not want home testing for COVID? It's because people might use it too often, and it might cause anxiety, it might cause paranoia. So that's why COVID-19 home testing is still not recommended. We have a lot of other companies. Niramai, again, very much in the news. They raised $7 million from Bini Bansal, Pi Ventures, and others. Niramai went through our social impact accelerator program. So that's another successful team. They are now building thermal imaging. Again, a company that has pivoted. They were initially working on breast cancer screening, but now they have pivoted and started doing thermal cameras for large population areas, like suppose a railway station or an airport. This would require to screen thousands of people within a span of 3-4 seconds, right? So having a thermal imaging system with AI, it allows them to detect people with higher body temperatures, and then you can specifically help those people. You can check whether it's an abnormality or an anomaly, or if definitely they needed to be tested for COVID. Right? There are multiple solutions like these. We'll talk about Dozy in more detail. They're helping a lot of quarantine centers in Jaipur, in Madhya Pradesh. It's a heart monitoring, respiration monitoring device. We'll talk about that. We also support companies outside the healthcare space. So we're looking at industrial biotech, fertilizers, renewable energy, all of those, and we have companies in that. Eden also works with companies such as Mflux Motors, which is a electric bike company, works with Skylark Drones, India's probably the most popular drone company in terms of the news they have created. We have HealthCube, which has done more than 5 lakh tests across India. And that's been a fairly good run. So IKP Eden alone has had the privilege of supporting more than 120 startups in the last 4.5 years, and that's a huge number by any incubation center numbers, right? Let me jump to some of the funding programs. So we work with the Gates Foundation. We raise money. We run challenge programs. This is called the Grand Challenges Explorations. We have funded more than 35 candidates now. We fund about 50 lakhs per candidate, which is $100,000. And this has also been widely successful. We will talk more about these in the list of companies that have helped out with COVID and how they have changed their manufacturing line to help suit this. Right? TB control, I talked about this one. We ran many challenges around tuberculosis with funding from the US government, UK government, Indian government, and the Gates Foundation. So it was a consortium of funding agencies. IKP was able to bring this together. I was lucky to be the program manager of all of these funding programs. So defining the purpose of the call, putting out a request for proposals, getting them, screening them, writing the agreement for funding, monitoring the progress of these candidates that we support. That has been a very rewarding experience for us. All of the teams that have been funded through the treatment adherence programs. So in TB, there is a huge problem. People don't take their medication on time. So it becomes necessary to remind them very promptly. And if you do not remind them, the disease becomes drug resistant. And that is a very big complication in TB. What could be solved in 6 months? TB treatment is a minimum 6-month program, and it costs you about 5,000 rupees. But if you don't take your medication for a week, that drug-resistant TB can end up taking 2 years to cure, and your cost of treatment can go up from 2 lakhs to 3 lakhs. And earlier it was 5,000, now it's 2 to 3 lakhs. Your chance of survival also drops rapidly from a 95% survival rate, you may end up dropping to 60% or even a 40% survival rate. So you have to be very careful with that. So treatment adherence was a challenge program that we ran. In that came out 99 dots. Of all these candidates, we kept picking and kept funding further and funding further. And finally, one of the teams which kept winning the challenges in terms of number of patients, in terms of cure rate, all of that, and eventually 99 dots was one of the more successful ones. ZMQ was also reasonably successful. They are also deployed not just in India, but in other countries as well, Uganda, Afghanistan. The other successful company is Operation Asha. I'll talk about them too. Another problem, which is disease. You will understand that very simply from COVID-19, it has become almost impossible to detect. Right now, the newspaper says India has 70,000 people, 60 to 70,000, but we don't know what the actual number is because we don't have a proper testing system. The same problem with tuberculosis, right? The difference between TB and COVID is TB bacteria is a very rugged bacteria, but takes a lot of time to manifest itself. This COVID virus tends to just jump without even infecting people. So TB, you have to be really sick to pass on the thing through your cough. Whereas COVID, without even being sick, you can pass on the virus to other people. So diagnostic is an even bigger problem when it comes to COVID. But we've been working with a lot of TB companies. We are hoping that Wobble-Base, Ampligene, they will be able to come out with something that solves the problem for COVID. In fact, Wobble-Base is working on RNA extraction kits. Ampligene is working on a diagnostic. ZMQ, Operation Asha, these are again, we funded companies to scale up outside India. So that's how we had companies that moved to Afghanistan, moved to Uganda, and this international expansion was supported by the UK government. The Indian government, both Department of Biotechnology, Department of Science and Technology, they have also been big supporters of IKP and IKP Eden. BIG has funded more than 100 projects now for IKP. Each time they do about 50 lakhs in funding. Some of these products are already in the market. Department of Science and Technology has given IKP Eden a Nidhi TBI grant, with which we have bought some very cutting edge machines and equipment, milling, prototyping, circuit assembly, all of these. This is supported by the Department of Science and Technology. And they also have a Nidhi Prayas program, which is a prototyping grant given to hardware startups. So we've also been helped by the government to help startups. We've run a couple of accelerator programs. We have run one very focused on medical devices. We have run one that is focused on social impact. We are planning to run another accelerator program later this year, which will be on IoT. But we have had tremendous success working with corporates, helping startups get funded by these corporates through CSR. We have been successful in getting customer access through these corporates. And that's what the Sigma Accelerator is about. I told you earlier that Niramai was part of this. We also had a team from Germany that had come, which was making a vaccine carrying box. The vaccine carrier box would work on solar energy and had a special refrigerant inside it. So that's how it needed minimum energy to maintain that temperature. Vaccines have to be transported at anywhere from 2 degrees to 8 degrees centigrade. Anything above that, the vaccine will get spoiled. So this was a company called Coolar. These guys came down from Germany. They stayed in India for 4 months. India is the vaccine capital of the world. We will talk. You may know that there is a race going on to develop the vaccine. Serum Institute in Pune is probably one of the leaders in that race. Right? We'll talk a bit more about hardware. Like I said, Eden is engineering design entrepreneurship network. And it was set up entirely to support medical device, hardware, and similar companies. Why would, let's just do a couple of basic slides. Entrepreneurship is about building products that do not exist. It is to help bring value to people, improve the quality of life, and have an impact. We strongly suggest that money is something that you will make along the way. It is a byproduct of your efforts, but entrepreneurship should be more about the cause that you are fighting for. If you do it well, money will come. So that is what we want to drive through before we go to the next set of slides. When I say that, I mean value proposition needs to be very clearly defined. Products are, you can never force a product on somebody. You will have to make them buy it, right? That's why they say companies are bought, they are never sold. Somebody has to see the value in your company, and then they will have to come pick it up from you. Either they buy your product or they buy your company. But either ways, you have to have that emotional connect. You will need to have that selling factor, that USP. And you have to define that very carefully before you start building a product or spending your time or money on it. And that's the first step in our accelerator program or our incubation program. We screen you through whether your technology is relevant, whether it is viable, whether somebody will want to pay for it, what is your customer, what is your customer segment, what is the purchasing capacity, and what is their purchasing willingness. Because it's great to build a product, but if somebody is not going to come buy it, then there's no future to your company. Right? Companies are mostly successful based on the ideas, the team, the execution capacity of the team, whether you got funded or you did not get funded. Like I said, business model or product market fit. And finally, the difference between a $10 million company and a $1 billion company is probably timing and luck. So that's why we always say you have to keep working towards the right cause. It may happen that you make $1 billion, but if you work hard, sincerely, and intelligently, you will definitely be successful. It does take a little bit of time, but you will have to keep at it. What to do and what not to do. I'm guessing, especially when you're building a hardware startup, the team needs to be well-rounded. Hardware product almost very difficult to build as a single person. You need to have one business person on your team. You need to have one strong technology person on your team. Ideally, 2 to 3 founders. Anything more tends to have a lot of wasted efforts. One single person puts a lot of pressure on that person to stretch themselves, and it's usually very difficult because hardware is about being present in that space, being present to make sure your manufacturing tolerances are all met, quality control is met. It's not something, it's very physical presence dependent. You cannot be sitting in different parts of the globe saying, I will test this release of my API or this release, this version of the app. You will have to be there. And if you're launching a satellite to the moon, or you're launching a satellite, or you're sending a rover to the moon, you have only one chance to get it right. There's no such thing as product recall, right? That's why the more the founders, the more commitment from people towards that cause. Do not build something that has already been built by other people. Try to partner with them. Try to save time. Like I said earlier, time is the only finite resource in your wallet. You can raise money, you can put in money, you can earn money. There are a lot of things you can do around money, but time is something that is non-negotiable, non-returnable. And you must always remember that there is competition in the market, and time is the biggest factor that you will be fighting against, and competition keeps adding up as time goes by. Always take customer feedback. This is part of the lean launchpad approach. Listen to your customers, take their feedback. Listen to your team, take their feedback, and try to move it. Hardware is hard, but it's been done before. It's not extremely difficult. You're not the first company to do it, you will not be the last company to do it. So there are multiple steps. There are more steps. Building a looks like prototype, building a works like prototype, something that's manufacturing ready, getting it manufactured, selling it, servicing the product that you sold, and then building a brand around it so that more people come back and buy your product. Brand is quite critical, and in hardware, like I said, there's only one chance to launch. There is very little, there is no merit in having product recalls. You will be reading about all these automobile companies where they say we recall this model of this car because there is one spark plug that is not right. It's a mathematical calculation. How much does it take to replace each of these parts? How much are we sponsoring every time these parts have to be replaced? What is the cost of labor? Our service engineers who have to be there to replace these parts? It's a financial decision. So sometimes people balance humanitarian decisions and financial decisions. You don't want to be in that position. So design your product well, launch it well, make sure there is no failure. Like an Apple iPhone tends to have lower failure rates compared to other phones. And that's why people like it. People say Mac is better than a PC because of the reliability component. I'm a big PC fan, but you will not believe today morning, my laptop crashed on me for the first time in my 25 years. Today was when I was actually thinking maybe this is why people move to Mac. And today was the day I had to give this presentation, and my presentation was stuck on that PC, and we had to spend a couple of hours trying to extract it. Never happened before, but happened today. The lean launchpad approach. This is very critical for hardware startups so that you don't spend money upfront. Identify the right problem. That's the empathy part. Build a product that people use, reuse, keep coming back to. That's the stickiness part. Something like a Facebook, something like an Uber is very sticky, which means that a user will keep coming back to use the product every now and then. There is no, they don't get tired of the product. That's very critical to a successful product. Even your iPhone, for that matter, is more sticky than any other electronic gadget that you have. That's why people fancy the iPhone so much, right? And once you build a product that solves somebody's problem and is sticky, then they're going to market it in a big way. They're going to spread it by word of mouth. Let's not use the word virality. It has a very negative connotation right now, but meaning getting the word out. It should happen through your own customers, right? And this is where we say revenue will be a byproduct of this whole scaling up of your activity. Do not run behind money to begin with. As long as you're building a good product, it should be, it will get solved, revenues will come. It may take a little bit of time. You have to be flexible and you have to be patient, but it is certainly, it will happen if you have the right intentions behind your journey, right? Attend a boot camp if you have to. Build up all your business model canvas, your customer model canvas, all of that. Very essential exercises. These are all thought exercises. Please spend time on that before you spend time and money on your actual product development. Unlike the software product development cycle, which tends to be a simple agile loop process, the hardware product development is a multiple agile, multiple loop process with a lot of interdependencies. And it's not dependent to just the people sitting within your office. It depends on sourcing components. It depends on how all of these components work together. It all on the reliability of these components. Different components have different lifetimes. They may not work together. There is interdependencies. There is also one component affecting the other just by in terms of interference. All of these need to be tested, right? So hardware development, you need to have the right consultants if you need them on a consulting basis, and then you have to decide who you want on your core team. And that's a very delicate problem, and different products have different, there's no right answer to this. You will only learn as you go along, but what we try to do at IKP is through the community and through the networks, we try to assign the right advisors and mentors for this process. Our simple goal is we help you build world-class products faster. Like I said, time is the only currency that you should be focused on while you're building your hardware product. It may not be a unique product. You have to be very careful that there will be somebody else who's building this. So it's important you go to the right place to get your product built. Right? When you're building a product, you want as many iterations as possible. You don't want to spend money on large batch productions. You want to produce them in small batches. So you have to reduce the time of each iteration. And you have to build that network of prototyping centers and manufacturing centers around you. And you should be able to, more iterations means better product. Small batches means lower cost, and that's the ideal combination for a hardware startup too when they go through their product development journey. You also have to stay focused. When you should make sure that you're not spending too much time in a manufacturing shop. You're not getting constrained by a minimum order quantity, all of that. So, and you have to go to the right people who tell you what can be done and what cannot be done. You don't want to be surrounded by people who say yes to everything. You also want people who challenge you. So pick the right people on your team, pick the right advisors, pick the right partners to help you with your product development. We are now coming into a world where a lot of the ideation is going to be very centralized. You must have already become part of WhatsApp groups, one that is working on a ventilator, one that is working on a diagnostic, one that is working on screening, on disinfecting tunnels, and I'm on a supply chain group. So the world has come together much faster thanks to the situation we are in. We are able to source talent, we are able to source ideas much faster. Of course, we must have heard about the supply chain breaking down, etc., but that has been easing out right now. It has given us a great environment to collaborate, to learn to collaborate, different kinds of people coming together and putting together solutions. Our network, this is the network effect that we're talking about. So eventually the future is going to be a distributed future, which means the ideas will be centralized, but all of the production and scaling will be very localized in their own geographies, right? We call this the centralized ideation, but the realization is very localized. So that's going to be our future. We are already seeing it. We'll give you some examples of how this has been going on. Let us also take a step back and see from an India-centric point of view. India is projected to become a superpower, which is going to happen. The question is, can we use this COVID-19 situation to accelerate our production capabilities, our manufacturing capabilities? There is going to be a huge backlash and on China, and that gives us an opportunity to build manufacturing capability in-house for hardware. So this is the time to do it. And if you start doing now, in 10-15 years time, we will have a great ecosystem. We will have a lot of successful companies. So this is the time to do it. India's problems will continue to be skill development, will continue to be social inclusion, financial inclusion, and healthcare for all. Though we have a very young workforce, we also need to have a very skilled workforce. And there seems to be a lack of focus on that quality workforce point. People say we have a great young demographic, COVID-19 is not going to affect us because the majority of the population is young, etc. But there is no point in having young survivors who are not trained. Like, for example, yesterday the trains opened across India, and you can see 10,000 people ganging up in the railway station. How do you train these people on social distancing? If you cannot train them on social distancing, how do you train them to manufacture something as complicated as an iPhone? This is going to be a major problem, skilling and skill development. So these are, again, look at these as opportunities. Can we build training systems, training modules that our country can use at this time? Work on social impact solutions, because food, healthcare, these are things that are going to be forever problems. We will need to eat, we will need to live healthily. You can see that the focus is slowly shifting from San Francisco to other centers of innovation. SF, the Bay Area, the Silicon Valley does not have any we don't know if the vaccine is going to come from there or the vaccine is going to come from Serum Institute in Pune, or is it going to come from Israel, right? But people have really given the Silicon Valley a run for their money in this COVID-19 times. All of the innovation that these guys came out with, Silicon Valley people, Uber, WeWork, Airbnb, all of these are being shut down. This is the elephant in the room, which is just knocking things over. And even the Chinese workers are being laid off because of the reduction in consumption by the US, right? People in the US were making money off of other value-added services like Airbnb, WeWork, etc. And now with no travel happening, Airbnb is downsizing, and that means lesser pay in the US, that means lesser consumption, which means job losses in China. So you can see how it has actually gone through a full loop. And by the time we come back to normal, we need to have capabilities within our country to address these. The factories in China are 40 years, 50 years old. they're probably past their prime. So we have an opportunity there as well. Why does China charge less for production? Because those factories have already become profitable, but the factories are also aging, which means there will be a tipping point in which they will have to renew, rebuild all of their manufacturing. And at that time, we have to be ready to take over as the manufacturing leader. COVID-19, for those of you who are running startups and looking for fundraising, you have to be careful. Most of your investors are making money on stock markets and the stock market is dipping. So these investors will be feeling the pinch and they may not be willing to put their spare cash behind you. So you have to be careful about that. That said, it is still not a bad time to start up because there is a lot of opportunity. Your cost of starting up is low. There is a lot of talent available. In fact, personally, there is a team that we have formed internally where we are around a certain product, IoT product idea that we are trying to start out on. We are hoping that in 12 months' time, this should help other companies. It's a B2B product that is being built. It's still in stealth mode, so I'm unable to reveal much details about it. But the decision to build it was very consciously taken, though we knew that investments may be hard to come by in the next 6 months. So just like any other Darwinian theory, you have to learn to adapt, evolve fast. You have to survive and sustain with the resources that you have. Right? IKP launched an ICO fund, which was targeted only at COVID-specific solutions. We were funding anywhere between 10 lakhs to 25 lakhs per team. Some of the teams like Dozy, which used to be a wellness management device, used to pick up heart rate and breathing patterns, now has come in handy and is being used in Jaipur, MP and Bangalore. So it has now become a quarantine center must-have. Everybody on the quarantine center, this thing is under their mattress, and it tells you their breathing pattern, their heart rate, their oxygen levels. There's a SpO2 clip that comes with it, so you know how the patient is doing, right? Samples of orders, where all they are. Mental health has become a major problem. So TikTok2 is a company founded by ISB Mohali students. This provides counseling online and through the app. A lot of people are having great concern about what will happen to their jobs, etc. So this is also a time for, you must have also read that domestic violence is on the up. So counseling online is a new market that has opened up. Education obviously is a market that you must have all heard about. We have a team that's building a portable respiratory device. It's not a full-blown ventilator, it's an ambubag based device. So it works in ambulances, it works when you're transporting a patient. This is again a team that has been working on it for 2-3 years, and now is the time for them to scale up. This is called Biodesign Innovation Labs. We have Microgo, which is an office entry must. It is now being deployed in airports, railway stations, etc. You can see pictures from the airport where it has been deployed. Mflux Motors, a very interesting team that was building electric racing bikes, and now they are actually building face shields. And they hope to keep themselves sustainable, at least for 6 months or 8 months, just selling value-added products before they can get back into bike production, right? Affygenix is a team working on RNA extraction kits. Parishodhana is building P95 masks. This is available for sale on abillionsocialmasks.com. These masks are actually prepared both with in a mechanized form and through self-help groups. So the pricing is different, but N95 masks from Parishodhana, that's one of our teams. They were earlier working on respiratory and hypothermia, right? Problems for babies. And now they have again shifted to working on building PPEs. Geotronics has been building a defibrillator. So just like a ventilator, you will also need to have this to revive a patient if they are going down. Butterfly EduFields, this is building face shields and intubation boxes. They were earlier building helmets, now they're building this one. And they've also taught us to build our own face shields and our own intubation boxes. And IKP's maker spaces in Karnataka have been supplying these intubation boxes to different hospitals in their respective cities. Sort of signing off slide, which I took from a futurist who said there will be industries that are affected, there will be industries that will do well. Happy to put this list out, share it with all of you later. And I think that's the end of my deck. I think I took more time than I should have, but happy to take any questions from you all. Thank you all for listening.
Wonderful, Vikraman. We have already a bunch of questions in line. So yes, so one question is being asked by Krishna Trivedi. He says, the main problem with initial stage of any startup is money. I think so, he's saying. Suppose we have designed any product with all good features, but at the initial stage, due to funding problem, we cannot manufacture in large quantities, and we cannot compete with China's product cost. What should be done in that situation?
So the assumption is that, there's an assumption you have made that the features are good and the product is good. Have you taken customer feedback? Have you have you shown it to people? Have you given it to them to use? Have you given out the first 5 products for free and seen whether people will come back and say, I will pay you for it? Have you done that exercise? If you have done that exercise and people have paid for it, then it's easy to go tell an investor that I'm already getting paid for it, now fund me, and investors will fund you. So I don't think you should say that money is the problem. You should look at getting feedback and show success. All investors want to do is put in money and get out money. So as long as you're telling them that you're already making money, then investors are happy to back you, right?
I think what he's asking, Vikraman, is the initial product cost, because he's not able to produce at a scale. So the cost is something that he is not able to compete with Chinese products of them same features. So if the features have been validated and the product cost in a batch processing here can be smaller, but now because he is doing few pieces without a mold, the cost is getting larger. In that context, I think he's trying to learn.
Sure. So that is something that all of the companies have faced, and we discussed that. The Chinese factories are old. They have already amortized their costs. It is necessary. They can give you at lower prices than Indian companies can. But that said, if you look at the cost of transportation from China to India now, that cost is going to be so high that it may make sense to start producing in India. So as long as your customer is in India, you produce in India, the difference in just moving things around should offset your difference in what the Chinese guy is giving you.
One participant is asking, does your incubator also supports energy and allied startups, or you only focus on health tech?
No, we do have energy companies. We had a company called SolarBox. We had another company that is working on, SolarBox was working on rural electrification. We still have a company working on recycling lithium-ion batteries. We have a company working on bioenergy from kitchen waste. We have other kinds of renewable companies.
Wonderful. One participant says, how will these startups survive post-COVID crisis? You said some of the startups who are catering to the urgent need of COVIDs, maybe the sanitizing machine, the sill, and all these things. He's saying that suppose the demand goes down in India after the COVID is gone, how do they survive?
So there are those winning industries and losing industries. That is a very macroeconomic problem. So if you're in an industry which is going bad, for example, if you're in the malls, if you're running a shopping mall, obviously you're going to take a hit. At that point, you have to see what other opportunities you have around this. whereas there are companies which I give you examples of. They started making simple products, face shields, masks, etc., and now they're actually making revenues to survive. The other is, can you give your employees stock options instead of salaries, right? Instead of paying cash, can you give them stock options to keep them excited, keep them interested? People are going to stay, and if they know that they're going to survive in the longer term, they will be even more committed to your company post the crisis. We did a survey on a lot of startups. Over 200 companies applied. A lot of them said they have only 4 to 6 months of cash in their bank, not more than 4 to 6 months, right? That is 85% of the companies do not have cash in the bank. So you have to do different kinds of strategies to survive. Stock options is probably, if salaries is going to be a huge component of your expenses, then that. If you want to cut down on office rent, etc., that is something that incubators are enabling, co-working spaces are enabling, cutting down on that. If you're not actively coming to work, there is a lot of cost reduction in terms of transport, food, etc. That is again savings for you. So cash is king. You have to make sure you conserve as much cash as possible and keep your important employees together as much as possible.
Okay. One question is, which are the avenues for raising fund for starters?
Right. So right now there are multiple government programs that are running multiple funding programs. There is the Kavach program from DST. You must have applied for that. BIRAC has its own funding programs that it has been running. MIT has launched a challenge to build a Zoom-like conference system, because there was a lot of thing about Zoom being China, pro-China and all that. So there have been a lot of government funding programs that are open. That said, it is not that private investors are not investing. This month, we actually made an exit on a startup. We had invested 50 lakhs sometime last year. This time they're giving us 1.2 crores and asking us to exit, because they're getting a much bigger investor who's putting in 45 crores. So they're actually giving us a positive money back, and they're taking in 45 crores from somebody else, which the deal is still not public, so I cannot reveal the name of the company. But if somebody is raising money, 45 crores, etc., that means it is not that there is no money in the system. It is that you have to find the right place to get your funds.
Only thing is, I think some sector has dipped and some has taken off. It's all about, it's not about diminishing the domain, but it's about replacing things. Yeah. As you rightly mentioned, that some people may lose money. I mean, yesterday when we had a discussion and the guy was asking that I had a jewelry shop and now I'm losing money, and the panelists say, we could have been making masks. So you don't know what works, and that's what is the risk reward game is. Sometimes you get a moderate risk, sometimes you get a high risk, sometimes a little bit more. Professor Dharmendra Mandale is asking, can you a little bit elaborate how you have built the ecosystem in Karnataka across 5-6 places? How do you really create innovation pipeline? What are things you are doing? And then how are you trying to do in other states also?
So in Bangalore, we have not created the innovation ecosystem. It existed and we were happy to become part of the ecosystem, right? Bangalore has a good history. And we were fortunate enough to come here and start something. But our focus on hardware was very different from what others were doing. And that's the only big differentiator for us. We were very sincere. Like I said, one single agenda, help startups build products faster, right? Provide them machines, provide them access to funding, provide them access to all sorts of resources to help them build products faster. We kept that single-minded agenda, just like any other startup needs to have their focus on that value proposition. So that was what we did. Karnataka government was very supportive. They said, please help us set up. Mangalore Center has about 25 startups working over there. Belgaum has about 12 to 15 startups working over there. Mysore has another 15-20 startups working over there. So this was something. So once you establish a model, then it is about scaling. So as long as people are coming to you, you're providing them good service, people keep coming back. Same, you build a product which is good, people talk about it, people come back to you, people stay with you, and then your business grows. Same lean launchpad that I talked about, same approach is what we followed in building this. And over time, you also keep learning what do startups need, what is the fastest way to get them that service, what is the fastest way to get them access to a certain production method, a certain material. All of these things is something you keep building. You keep building a yellow pages, a directory, smart directory of things, and that comes in handy. So you always have to look at it as an exponential growth. I think by now everybody understands exponential growth. So that's how it's been for us.
Wonderful. One question I will take. Jignesh Prajapati is asking, there are students in remote places of the state who doesn't have much incubations and all. How do they get benefit? Sir, Gujarat Innovation Hub is exactly made for that. And SSIP policy, the Student Startup and Innovation Policy, is aimed for that. We have more than 150 odd grantees through whom we give innovation support to any students or alumni of last 5 years. If the innovators of any district or any taluka can submit their ideas on our portal, we can certainly link them to the nearby grantee institutes. And every month the reviews projects are being done. And at the earliest, up to 2 lakhs rupees seed grant for building a proof of concept can be given to you. वो आपको आसानी से मिल जाएगा. अगर आपको पेटेंट फाइल करना है तो up to 25,000 rupees upfront support हम लोग these days भारत में रिसोर्सेज, कई बार रिसोर्सेज के बारे में अवेयरनेस नहीं है और कई बार ये रिसोर्स और फैसिलिटेशन के बीच में इंटरफेस नहीं है. So if you can create an interface as a principal, as a faculty, as an enabler, and if you can, while talking to all of you in this session, I've already got 5+ innovators sending me email. So with the other things, so if you can get 5-10 mails every 1 hour, we'll definitely go through that and filter them and connect to the nearby institute. So support will not be a problem. Only thing is institutions like you should focus on mentoring them to make good products. Like Vikraman told, that if you have a good products market fit, definitely money will flow in. So that should not be a problem. Vikraman, one question is coming. Can you elaborate any good agricultural startups that you have supported?
Yes, we have Teluris, which is a Hyderabad-based team. We have helped them. We have a team called AgNext, which is working on pest control, quality of crops, etc. Skylark Drones itself is working on crop monitoring, etc. We have a company working on precision agriculture. So that's funded through the Prayas program. So yes, there have been multiple agri-tech companies that we have supported, both on the biotech side of things and the engineering side of things.
One interesting suggestions or questions coming from multiple participants. In IKP Eden, you might be helping them for Fab Lab and prototyping or rapid prototyping or something. Now, once the prototype is ready, you go to customers, you get some good feedbacks. After that, they need to go to larger workshops or batch process or mold or something else. So how do you help in that phase as an incubation or innovation center? Do you make a repository of all those ancillary people who give such kind of facilities? Or how do you connect? Because an innovator does not get those connection automatically. How does that you facilitate?
So, very nice question. We are like a college. We are only as good as our students. We are only as good as the students who have graduated. Why do I feel good about going to IIT? I worked hard to get into IIT. It's because of the alumni base. So every startup will have a different requirement. So we go back to our alumni many times and ask them how they got it done. And that is how we have built this repository. We continue building this repository. And that's how it's been. It's mostly been alumni-led support systems that we have. I wouldn't. It's when you help more than 250 startups through funding and another 150 through incubation, etc. In-house mentors are not enough. It has to be a larger network. It has to be both external and internal networks at play, and that's how it's been for us. That said, we have very stellar advisors. IKP Knowledge Park, when it started out, it had, like I said, Mr. Narayan Wagul. It had Dr. R. A. Mashelkar on the board of directors. It had Dr. M. K. Bhan on the board of directors. All of these people are visionaries who were able to bring in their networks to help IKP grow to what it was. It's not one person behind it, but more recently the engineering innovation arm, we have Sharad Sharma, who is the founder of iSpread Foundation. He has been a major supporter of IKP Eden. The team behind UPI, the team behind a lot of the India stack, etc. They have been very supportive. So there is the Thai IoT Forum of Bangalore. They have been very supportive of what we have been doing. IESA. There have been multiple well-wishers and supporters of all the things we have done, and that's how it's been growing.
So what would be your key takeaways that you would suggest in this scenario to our startups?
So at this stage, I think it's important that you conserve cash, you keep your core employees together, keep them motivated, keep them energized. We don't know where and how soon this will all be resolved. But that said, you have to, the word crisis in Chinese, where all of this may have begun for us, the word crisis stands for both danger and opportunity, which means this is where you have to shine. This is where you have to differentiate yourself, and you will have to survive. It's a difficult time for all of us. Even at IKP, we are struggling. Our primary revenue model is to charge these large companies rentals, and we have to also charge the startups for the incubation services that we provide. In fact, in April, we had to give a huge discount to the startups, saying we did not charge them the full amount. I think we charged 80%. We charged 20%. We gave them an 80% off on the incubation fees. So it's a difficult time for all of us. We have to work things around. We are, like I said, we are doing things like face shields and other things which are not technologically challenging, but it gives everybody an opportunity to learn how to make something, sell something, very accelerated environment that we live in. At IKP, we are trying to see, can we bring all of these startups together who are selling similar products or allied products, and give it as a portfolio package to, let's say, a bank, or give it to a bus station. You need a thermal scanner, you need face masks, you need face shields, you need a hand sanitization system. Can we bundle this up as a portfolio package and give it? This is something that we're actively working on. So we're also struggling. We're also coming up with innovative ways, packaging, repackaging, innovative solutions. That's what we are personally doing.
So I think we got a decent amount of idea. A couple of principles have conveyed us in the chat box. So a big thank you to you for sharing the detailed formula of how IKP Eden is helping innovators across the state and across the country. One question which somebody has asked: how do you support follow-on funding? You have mentioned a significant amount of money also you brought into your companies. So how do you do that?
So you have to make as many introductions to as many investors as possible. You have to back the good companies. You have to give them introductions. You have to help them with the right pitch, we have to help them, and they will do it. I mean, it's a numbers game. At the stage we are in, which is 400 startups, 500 startups. It's hard to put down a formula and say this is a formula for success. What we do is we give everyone as much as we can, and we hope that people will perform and people will succeed. It's very hard to pick one by one and give very specific. Of course, the mentorship is very specific, and the advice that you give to each startup is very specific. But overall, it's a numbers. It's such a huge system that you cannot have a one size fits all formula for this.